Imagine coming home after a long day. Your shoes have crossed a station, a supermarket, a parking lot, and perhaps a public restroom. You wipe them on the mat, step into the living room, and continue with your evening. Nothing feels unusual. Yet many Japanese homes treat those first seconds inside the door as part of the cleaning routine. The reason is not fear of germs. It is not proof that every Japanese home is spotless. It is also not a judgment that other cultures are dirty. The deeper difference is a system of boundaries. One boundary separates the street from the living room. Another separates the toilet from the rest of the home. A third appears before anyone enters the bath. These boundaries do not eliminate every germ. They simply make it harder for dirt to travel automatically from one place into another. That idea changes the meaning of cleanliness. Cleaning does not begin only when a surface looks dirty. It begins when we decide where outside dust, bathroom residue, and kitchen contamination are allowed to move. Today, we will explore 7 small Japanese boundaries that quietly shape daily life. Number 6 begins with an action that looks responsible, yet can spread contamination across an entire kitchen. The final boundary is even more surprising. It has nothing to do with the inside of a house. It reveals how personal cleanliness can become a form of respect for strangers. Habit 1. The street stops at the genkan. Picture a child sitting on the living room floor. Now picture the shoes beside that child. Those shoes have crossed sidewalks, stations, shops, and wet public entrances. In many Japanese homes, they would never reach that floor. They stop at the genkan, pronounced genkan. The genkan is the entrance area just inside the front door. It is often lower than the main floor, creating a visible change in level. You enter with outdoor shoes, remove them there, and step onto the raised living space. Shoes are commonly turned toward the door and placed neatly aside. This small architectural feature creates an immediate decision. The lower area belongs to the outside world. The raised floor belongs to the home. That distinction has practical roots. Japanese families traditionally sat on tatami, ate near the floor, and unfolded futons there at night. The floor was not empty space beneath furniture. It was part of the surface where daily life happened. Outdoor shoes therefore had no place beside meals, bedding, or children playing. Removing shoes is not exclusive to Japan. Many households across Asia, Europe, Canada, and other regions follow the same practice. What feels especially Japanese is the clarity of the transition. The house itself shows visitors where the outside zone ends. A welcome mat tries to clean the bottom of a shoe. A genkan asks the shoe to remain behind. You do not need to rebuild your entrance to borrow this idea. A shoe rack, a washable mat, and consistent indoor footwear can create a similar boundary. The important part is not perfection. It is preventing outdoor shoes from wandering through bedrooms, kitchens, and resting spaces. Here is the question the genkan quietly asks. Why clean the entire floor repeatedly when one small boundary can stop much of the dirt at the door? Habit 2. Toilet slippers do not leave the toilet. A guest walks out of a Japanese bathroom. Everyone suddenly looks toward their feet. They have forgotten to remove the toilet slippers. The mistake may seem harmless because the slippers look clean. Yet it breaks one of the clearest boundaries inside a traditional Japanese home. Many homes, inns, schools, and older buildings provide separate slippers inside the toilet. Indoor slippers remain outside the door. The toilet slippers stay within that room. After using the toilet, the person changes back before entering the hallway. Not every modern household follows this practice. Small apartments may use different arrangements, and some homes use no slippers at all. Still, the custom reveals a useful principle. Different rooms can belong to different hygiene zones. The bathroom floor does not need to share everything it collects with the bedroom or kitchen. The slippers act as a simple barrier between those surfaces. This practice does not claim that a toilet can become completely sterile. It also does not require anyone to fear walking near the bathroom. It reduces unnecessary transfer. That principle can be used without buying special slippers. Keep bathroom footwear inside the bathroom. Do not place clean clothing or towels on the toilet floor. Avoid carrying personal objects between the toilet area and the kitchen without reason. Many cleaning routines focus only on removing visible dirt. The slipper boundary works earlier. It asks where contact begins, where it ends, and what should remain inside one room. The most embarrassing part of forgetting toilet slippers is not that everyone sees dirt. It is that everyone sees a boundary being carried away on your feet. Habit 3. The bath begins after the body is clean. A person fills a bathtub, climbs inside, and starts washing. Soap spreads through the water. Shampoo runs from the hair. The bath becomes the place for cleaning and soaking at the same time. Japanese bathing culture usually separates those two purposes. The body is washed outside the tub. A person sits on a small stool or stands beneath a handheld shower. They use soap and shampoo, then rinse everything away completely. Only after the body is clean do they enter the ofuro, pronounced ofuro. The same rule matters in public baths and hot springs. Visitors wash before entering shared water. Soap, towels, and loose hair are kept away from the bath itself. This order protects the water for everyone who uses it. It also changes the emotional meaning of the bath. The practical work is already finished before the person steps inside. There is no bottle to reach for and no remaining task to complete. The body simply becomes warm and still. Wash first, then rest. That sequence may be one reason a Japanese bath feels like the closing chapter of the day. The ofuro is not designed to remove the entire day while you sit inside it. The washing area handles that task first. Then the bath offers a clear transition into rest. You do not need a Japanese bathroom to apply the idea. A shower before soaking keeps soap and residue out of the bathwater. It can also help separate personal care from relaxation. One action prepares the body. The next action signals that effort is over. Sometimes calm does not require more time. It requires putting familiar actions in a better order. Habit 4. Coming home. Triggers the next action. A hand touches a train rail. Then it presses an elevator button, carries a shopping basket, and unlocks the front door. What happens next? In many homes, the answer depends on memory. The person might check the refrigerator, touch the phone, sit down, or begin preparing food. In Japan, returning home often comes with a familiar sequence. The shoes come off at the genkan. Someone says "tadaima," meaning "I'm home." Then they wash their hands. Many families also practice gargling after coming home. That custom should not be treated as guaranteed protection from illness. The hand-washing step has much stronger public health support. The important feature is the timing. Washing happens near the moment when public life becomes private life. Hands are cleaned before they move repeatedly through the home. Children also meet these routines early through family life and school hygiene education. Over time, the sequence can become automatic. The door opens, the shoes come off, the hands are washed. No dramatic warning is needed. The previous action simply becomes the cue for the next one. This is useful because human memory is unreliable, especially when we are tired. A habit attached to a doorway is easier to repeat than a vague promise to wash later. Try asking yourself a simple question tonight. What is the first object you touch after entering your home? If the answer changes every day, the outside world may travel farther than you realize. A fixed sequence creates a pause before the private evening begins. It turns hand washing from an occasional decision into part of arriving home. Habit 5. The meal starts with the hands. You sit down at a restaurant after holding doors, bags, railings, money, and your phone. Before the food arrives, a small damp towel appears. It is called an oshibori, pronounced oshibori. During winter, it may feel pleasantly warm. In summer, it may arrive cool. Some restaurants provide a reusable cloth. Others offer a packaged disposable towel. Its immediate purpose is simple. It allows guests to wipe their hands before eating. However, the oshibori also marks a transition. The journey ends. The meal begins. That pause matters because our hands often move directly from public surfaces to chopsticks, bread bowls, or shared dishes. The towel creates a moment of care before that contact begins. It is not a replacement for soap and water after using the toilet. It is also not enough after handling raw food. Its role is smaller and more graceful. It helps the guest settle, refresh, and approach the meal with clean hands. This reflects the Japanese idea of omotenashi, or attentive hospitality. A host notices a need before the guest has to request it. The gesture is practical, but it also communicates welcome. At home, special towels are unnecessary. Hand washing can become the final step before food reaches the table. Phones can remain away from shared dishes. Children can clean their hands before snacks, rather than after fingerprints appear everywhere. Consider how differently a meal feels when it begins with a pause. The food is no longer squeezed between the journey and the next obligation. The hands are ready. The table is ready. For a few minutes, everyone has truly arrived. Habit 6. Washing raw chicken can spread the problem. A package of raw chicken is open beside the sink. The surface looks wet, and washing it feels like the responsible choice. Water seems capable of carrying away whatever should not be there. But this familiar action can spread contamination beyond the chicken. Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries advises people not to wash raw meat, including chicken. Water striking the meat can splash onto the sink, utensils, nearby food, clothing, and hands. The chicken will later receive high heat. A salad beside the sink may receive none. That is the hidden reversal. Washing moves microorganisms from food that will be cooked onto surfaces that may not be heated. Running water cannot reliably make raw chicken safe. Thorough cooking is the essential step. Japan's guidance recommends heating chicken completely through the center. It also advises preventing raw meat from touching foods that will be eaten without cooking. If surface moisture is unpleasant, it can be wiped carefully with disposable kitchen paper. The paper should then be discarded immediately. Hands and contacted surfaces must be washed afterward. This advice is not unique to Japan. Food safety agencies in several countries give similar guidance. Yet the example fits our central idea perfectly. A clean action is not defined by how responsible it looks. It is defined by what happens after the action. Does the risk become smaller? Or does it travel across the sink, cutting board, vegetables, and hands? Sometimes the cleaner decision is to stop moving the problem. Keep raw meat contained. Cook it thoroughly. Let heat perform the task that splashing water cannot. Habit 7. Your rubbish does not become someone else's problem. A person finishes a drink on a Japanese street. They look around, but no rubbish bin is nearby. What happens to the empty bottle? Visitors are often surprised that many Japanese streets feel orderly despite having relatively few public bins. The expected answer is simple. You keep the rubbish until you find an appropriate place for it. Some people carry a small bag for wrappers, tissues, and empty containers. The waste may travel home before it reaches a bin. Japan is not free from litter. Japanese people are not automatically more considerate in every situation. Still, the expectation carries a deeper message. My inconvenience does not become another person's responsibility. That idea also appears in many schools. Students commonly help clean classrooms, hallways, and shared spaces. Cleaning is not always hidden, work performed after everyone leaves. The people using a space may also help restore it. This changes the meaning of hygiene. Cleanliness is no longer limited to the body, bathroom, or private home. It includes noticing what our actions leave behind for strangers. The first boundary stopped outdoor shoes at the entrance. This final boundary stops personal waste from becoming part of someone else's day. Imagine a clean apartment above a dirty hallway. Now imagine a spotless dining table beside a public bench covered with discarded wrappers. Private cleanliness alone is incomplete. The deepest boundary is not between clean and dirty. It is between what belongs to me and what I quietly expect another person to handle. That may be the most meaningful Japanese habit in this entire list. It turns cleanliness from personal comfort into shared respect. Conclusion. Place these 7 habits beside one another, and a single pattern appears. The genkan separates the street from the living room. Toilet slippers separate one floor from the rest of the home. Washing before bathing separates cleaning from restoration. Hand washing after returning separates public contact from private life. The oshibori separates the journey from the meal. Safe food preparation prevents raw meat contamination from spreading through the kitchen. Carrying personal rubbish protects shared spaces from becoming someone else's burden. None of these habits makes a home sterile. That is not the goal. The goal is to reduce unnecessary transfer. Street dirt does not need to reach the bedroom. Bathroom footwear does not need to reach the kitchen. Raw meat water does not need to reach the salad. A wrapper does not need to remain after its owner has left. In my view, this is the most useful lesson Japan offers here. We do not need to become anxious about every surface. We do not need expensive disinfectants or complicated household systems. We need to notice the moments when one part of life flows into another. The front door, the bathroom entrance, the edge of the bathtub, the kitchen sink, the dining table, the moment we leave a public space. A clear boundary in the right place may prevent more mess than constant cleaning afterward. That is what makes these habits feel calm rather than obsessive. They do not demand that we clean everything all day. They ask us to carry less dirt forward. Now, I would like to know what you think. Which of these 7 boundaries surprised you most? Is there one small boundary you would consider adding to your own home? Share your answer in the comments. Your experience may reveal another ordinary habit that the rest of us have never stopped to question.